Bugger. I always get that warm fuzzy feeling inside when I come out to find out one of my Range Rovers has decided to sit down on its bump stops overnight. Oh, what a joy this will be. There's no doubt we'll fix it, but finding air suspension problems is going to keep me amused for several hours. Here we go. Okay, let's have a little look, shall we? Well, oh, it's trying to raise the vehicle. No error message. I can't actually hear the compressor running, which is unusual because they're noisy buggers. Oh, the bing bong of doom has arrived. Suspension fault. I agree with that. Lights have gone off. Okay. Reach for our Diagnostics tool. GAP Diagnostics tool. Others are available, but for me personally, nothing comes close to the GAP Diagnostics tool if you've got a Land Rover. So let's plug that into the OBD2 port, which is tucked down under there. And oh, where's my device to connect? Let's clear everything, get it to do a bing bong again. "25 ECUs found, scanning." Oh, bing bong, suspension fault. Let's see what it says about that. And there we have it. Well, that's quite disappointing for a Range Rover. 3 faults there. 2 of them are completely irrelevant. But the one we're interested in is the one in the middle. RLM suspension. Let's have a look. Oh, hello, my old friend. This code C120-64. We go back a long way, me, in this code. It's a long time since I've seen you. Pressure increases too slowly when filling reservoir. Algorithm-based failure. Signal plausibility failure. It's very technical, isn't it? Well, I agree that the pressure increases too slowly when filling reservoir. But I go one step further. On the basis that I can't hear the compressor running at all, I would say it's not filling at all, the reservoir. So let's clear all that, ready for the next go. And time to jump out and have a look. Now, air suspension problems. They're always fun. So let's have a think. In the system, from the back, we've got the compressor, pipes, electrics, through a valve block into the reservoir, which is sat down this side of the car underneath, which I actually replaced about 18 months ago. So it may not be a leak in the reservoir tank. It could be, but being as I've replaced it with a brand spanking new one not that long ago, I'm hoping that that's unlikely. And then we've got valve blocks on each corner, and then we've got airbags on each corner. The airbags could be split. So there's plenty of pipes, plenty of places that we could have leaks. However, as I've said, I can't hear the compressor running, which is odd because you can normally hear it running. So we're going to start at the back and work our way through. Now, I have experience of suspension problems on Range Rovers, many experiences. So we're going to lug out the spare wheel so we can access the compressor and take its casing off, have a little look first of all, see what we can see, and then proceed to try and identify where our fault is. If we look, it'll just be one fault. However, that being said, it's never just been one fault. You solve one and you move on to the next one. But we will fix it. So we've lugged out the spare wheel, which requires a Herculean feat of strength in itself, but a requirement to be able to access the compressor, which sits underneath it. And we've removed the compressor casing, which is easy enough. It's just 4 bolts and lift the casing off. And we can't see anything obvious with the compressor. There's no obvious splits. However, it doesn't run. When we fire up the engine, we can't hear it, but it does click. So the first thing I'm going to do, and it's clutching at straws, but it's an easy job, is I'm actually going to change the relay for the compressor. I'm not holding out much hope it's going to do anything, but as it's easy and a 30-second job, it'd be silly not to have a go. Now, it just so happens I have a spare relay as part of my spare parts from previous rendezvous with my suspension problems in these beasts. So we'll pop that in first and see if it gives us any progress. Now, the relay is actually behind here. This one, in fact. And it doesn't want to actually come out. Gotcha. And put a new one in. And see if that does anything for us. So, in answer to the question, did that help? The answers are resounding no. It was a long shot, but worth doing. So now we need to take out the compressor and relocate it and start disassembling it and see if there's anything obvious going on with it. It's easy enough to take out. 5 bolts, disconnect some air pipes, disconnect some connectors. Take it out, disassembly required. So we've actually got the compressor out the car now, which is easy enough job. And we've taken the compressor unit itself out of the cradle, which in turn was sat in a tray. That's an easy enough job. It's just a couple of bolts. Put that there, and that gets us to the compressor itself. Now I should say this is a Hitachi compressor. You can get an AMK compressor, but as I've never worked on one of those, I know nothing about them. So if you're looking for information on the AMK, you're out of luck, because I've only ever used the Hitachi compressor. Now we've got a couple of options available to us here. We could actually just replace the Hitachi compressor with a new Hitachi compressor, which is about 535 quid, which is expensive. Or Dunlop make a direct replacement, which is about 225 quid or thereabouts. Or we could even get one of those fake, sorry, shouldn't say fake, should I? Replacement compatible Hitachi compressors off of eBay, which are about 200 quid. And if you are going to look at one of those, just make sure your connectors are actually what you need, because the ones that I looked at in the past weren't. But the good news is that this compressor is actually serviceable and repairable. So most of the things that go wrong, you can fix yourself. And that's what I'm going to do. So over the years, when I've repaired and fixed bits on these compressors, remembering I've got 2 of them, I've always bought my parts from X8R. And if you were to buy everything that you needed from X8R to service your compressor, it's about 110, 111 quid. But if you can identify which bit has failed or which bits have failed, you can just buy those bits. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to strip this compressor down and see which bits have gone, if any, and have a look through our box of spare parts, which I've amassed over the years, and see if we've got any bits to replace them. So let's start disassembly, shall we? First thing we're going to do is we're going to take off this air dryer canister. And what's inside there is a number of filters and desiccant, and it takes moisture out of the air feed. So the failure points on this are the end cap, which can crack and leak, and you can get a replacement end cap from X8R, and the desiccant inside degrades to such a point where it doesn't do anything anymore, but you can get filters and new desiccant to replace in that. Now looking at this one, it's got a little bit of moisture in there, but it came off relatively easily. In fact, it came off very easily, and the seal looks good, so I don't think that's failed. So we'll pop that back there for now and come back to it if we don't find anything else. Now next we're going to start having a look at the piston, which sits in here. So we're going to remove the top, which contains the piston bore. Okay, can we get that off yet? Nearly. Oh, that doesn't look good straight away. Put that there a second. Oh, well, first of all, we can see that that seal has failed. Remove the bore. Oh dear, that's not good either. That's been chewed up. We've lost metal out of that bore. In fact, there's metal particles everywhere, and it's scored, which is also not good. And you shouldn't be there, should you? That's not supposed to come up through there like that. In there are some bearings which are clearly missing. So let's take this cover off. Another yeah, that might be a problem. Well, we've discovered something. Let me show you. Okay, well, there's our problem. There are the bearings with lots of pieces of ground up metal. So I think we found the reason why our compressor's not doing anything. The piston is, as we say, mullered. Now, am I going to have any of those spare parts in my spare parts? Fairly sure I've got glide rings and seals. Have I got a piston? Let's have a look in the box, shall we? Well, yes. Oh dear. That's definitely not right, is it? Now, having had a rummage around in my box of spare parts, quite fortunately, I have got some nice replacement bits. So, to replace our cylinder chamber, which has been completely mullered, I've got a replacement. Now, it's not new, but it's in significantly better condition than the one that's failed. And I think that's okay. I've also got a piston replacement, which again isn't new. However, it does have its bearings. And onto that, I've placed a new glide ring and a new piston seal. And if we have a little look to make sure it's okay, it's a good fit. So I think that will suffice. Now, if we didn't have those, we could pick up all of that for about 15-20 quid. I've also got little packets of replacement Viton rings and seals. Viton, depends how you want to say it. So I can replace the seals with upgraded versions. I knew there was a reason I kept all these bits in my box. So we're going to have to now clean out this failed piston, get all the bearings out, all the grime, all the bits of metal, clean it out and start reassembly. Now, I've been pondering while I've been searching through my box of bits, and I'm surprised that I didn't hear this fail. It's possible, but I'm surprised. And I'm also surprised I didn't get a suspension fault earlier. Now, I don't know why that is at the moment, but until we've got a working compressor, we can't proceed to see if there's anything else. But it's a strange one. Anyway, let's fix this. So, first of all, let's clean this out. When we can find our new piston, let's put a tiny little bit of blue thread locker. A little bit. Is it going to be enough? No. Right, to stop our piston whizzing round, we can insert this little tool eventually. Stop it spinning around, give it a little tighten up. That'll do it. Check it's going round, beautiful. Pop that back on before we forget. Okay, we just need to put the cover back on, and we have actually got a nice new seal. So, time to connect it back up to the cradle. Right, let's put this in and see if we made any progress. So we're just going to connect it up loosely for now. Connected, air pipe in. The valve block needs to be located securely in its bracket, but we'll do that after we see what happens, because we might have to take it back out yet. Right then, the moment of truth has arrived. We have replaced the piston in the compressor, but what's been niggling me is I didn't hear that fail, and the first I was aware that there was a suspension problem is when I came wandering out in the morning to find it on its bump stops. There was no suspension error, I didn't hear the compressor fail, so I'm wondering whether that's our only problem or not. There's normally more than one problem, and I'm going to plug the diagnostics in and check that the compressor's running and producing the correct pressure, and then I can isolate each corner and so on. But curiosity's got the better of me at the moment, so I just want to fire it up and see what happens. Is the compressor going to lift us? here we go. The compressor's running and we do appear we are raising. Bloody hell. Is it gonna overheat and cut out? Or is it gonna raise us sufficiently? No errors. Compressor still running. The back end looks a little bit low. But we are raising. We've got no raising slowly error, which is a positive. But we are still raising slowly. Well, I think it's slowly. The car doesn't think it's slowly. And it's still going. Mind you, the system was completely deflated, so it has got to prime quite a lot. And the front end has definitely raised. I was suspecting there may have been a split on one of the air up bags. And there still may be that, because if we've lifted, assuming it doesn't error out in a minute, and there is a slow leak, we'll return at a later date to find out that it's on its bump stops again. Yeah, that compressor's still going. Don't know whether you can hear that on camera. But we've got no error, no suspension error, nothing bing bonging, nothing telling us it's unhappy. Let's have a quick look, shall we? Well, we have raised up, but the compressor's still going. Oh, it stopped. That's how you fix things. Complain about them. Okay. We've got no errors, no suspension faults, and the vehicle is raised. Maybe it just was the piston in the compressor. Could we be that lucky? So, as I say, we're not quite out of the woods yet. So we'll leave it for several hours and return and see if the suspension is still raised, or if there is a leak somewhere, it'll be back down on its bump stops. But so far, can't believe it. It just looks like one problem. God, I hope I haven't jinxed it. Right. Back after several hours and see what we've got. Pretty relieved about that. Well, so far we seem to be performing okay. No catastrophic suspension failures, which is nice. So we'll pull over in a minute, just ensure that it will go up through the suspension settings. We'll go down to access mode, then back up and make sure it's all doing what it's supposed to be doing. but it looks good. I'm not yet ready to declare it completely fixed, although it looks promising. I want to leave it overnight and make sure when I come out tomorrow morning it's not sat down on its backside again, on its bump stops. But it could be, and it's certainly shaping up to be. The issue was the catastrophic failure of the piston, which had disintegrated basically. I like it when they're nice and simple like that. Now, I did have the bits in my spare box of parts, so it hasn't actually cost me anything to fix it, which is even nicer. Let's just pull over here and have a look, see if we can go up and down through access mode, normal height and raised height. But if I'd have had to buy the parts, so a new piston and cylinder, it would have been sort of between 15 and 20 pounds, so it wasn't a huge cost. So let's have a little look. Are we going to go down to access mode? Yeah, responds straight away. And let's just hope that we can get back up, otherwise we're going to have a ginger little drive back home. That's done. Let's see if we can go back to normal height. Yeah, it responds instantly. That looks good. Right, well, I'll just check it tomorrow morning to be 100% sure we haven't got a leak somewhere hiding, but it's looking good. So, it's been about 72 hours since we fixed our compressor, and it's looking good. It's not gone down on its bump stops. That's good. So I could be forgiven for declaring it fixed, but wait. As although it appears that we may have fixed the problem, all is not as it seems. So what's going on? Well, we can drive, no problem at all. We can go to access mode, standard ride height and extended ride height, all no problem at all. The car responds beautifully. We can drive, everything's as it should be. But every now and then, what pops up on the dash is suspension fault. Now, I did try and video this for your viewing pleasure, but it pops up so briefly, if you blink, it's gone. So something's not quite right still. Now, I've put the compressor's little soundproofing hat back on, so I can't quite hear the compressor running and the exhaust valve as easily as I could. So I've taken to leaving the GAP tool installed and driving around looking to see what the gallery pressure is, the compressor temperature is, the reservoir valve percentage is, and the exhaust valve percentage is. Now, while I can't predict when that suspension fault message pops up, the compressor's running a little bit more than I anticipated it would, which indicates we've got a slight leak somewhere. Now, we do get an error code, which is this code, which is not a great deal of use because it doesn't tell you exactly what the problem is. It just says there's an inferred error. I can't really tell you what it is, so just go away and figure it out yourself. So we'll have to do that. Now, I suspect the leak is compressor side of the rear valve block. And that rear valve block has been in this car from new. which was 221,893 miles ago. It's the original valve block, and it's had to live through a couple of compressor failures in the past. So I think it may be a bit tired. In addition, the airlines that go from the compressor to the valve block have been in and out more times than I've had hot dinners. So that could be another weakness. There could be a bit worn, there could be a slight leak there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some soapy water and spray it liberally around the valve block, the airlines to the valve block and to the compressor, and see if we've got any little bubbles giving us an indication that's a slight leak. I've also got here in this box, all the way from China, well, there's a surprise, a new rear valve block. It's not original equipment, it's aftermarket, as they say, cheap. And I'm going to install that and see if that assists us with our little problem. I'm also going to continue to drive around with the GAP tool installed and keep an eye on the stats to see if it throws any more light and gives me any more indication. But all of that is going to have to be in another video because I've had enough at the moment. So you'll have to check back and see what I'm up to with my soapy water and airlines and valve blocks if you're interested. Now I know at this point it's mandatory on YouTube to install some drivel and nonsense about subscribing and supporting the channel, but I'm not going to insult your intelligence with that. If you want to subscribe, do. If you don't. Either way, it will make absolutely no difference to me, and nor will it influence me in any way. So, up to you. But if you do want to comment or have a question, provided it's not some idiotic comment, which I'll just delete, feel free, and I'll do my best to answer it, if I know what the answer is. And if I don't know what the answer is, I'll tell you. And on that note, I'll see you in the next one when we're fully equipped with soapy water and bobbing around in the back of the car seeing where the leak is, if it is actually there. I will get to the bottom of this. Air suspension is always good fun. Anyway, bye.